So why don't you begin with that, since we've done all the updates and all the information. So give us a picture about autoimmune diseases and nutrition, how nutrition and how you take care of your body affects it.
Yeah, I think this is, I think the reason why it's so easy to tag team between two people who have come up and seemingly developed specialities in what looks like from the outside the same thing, but actually it's the same thing. And what this talk, I think, is a metaphor to me for is there are certain parts of medicine that want you to think that your body and your mind are separate. That's absolutely false. It's actually nonsense, which I think is funny. No sense. There's no sense in that. And my background in Chinese medicine is completely exemplifies that, because there is no separation in Chinese medicine. It's one system. So what the Western world is coming to understand is the mind and the body and the spirit is all just energy. What affects one affects the other. There's no separation. So I think when you hear, if this is of interest to you, if you hear something in this discussion from me and Kathryn, this is resonating with its purpose is to join those two separate ideas that have been told to us that are separate, that are not separate, and we're breaking down the barriers between the physical and the mental and the physical and emotional because it's one system. So I just wanted to start with that piece. So just weave in any time, because there's no my talk, your talk. It's just, of course, the world's talk. So this talk started with one of you who emailed us and said, I have this disease and I want you to talk about autoimmune disorders. So this is how this comes. You get the impulse to want to ask this question, and then a whole world is started because of your work. So keep paying attention to your intuition and asking questions, because you change the world when you do that. So thank you for the person that did that. I've lost her name in the meantime. So the word autoimmune disorders really didn't start coming into terminology in the allopathic medicine, which is what I've used for the more mainstream medicine of drugs and surgery, till about 1950 or 1960. So it's relatively new in that world. And right now there's about 50 or 60 million people in this country with a diagnosed autoimmune disorder, but that's diagnosed. Most of us, and many of us, have an autoimmune aspect or related disorder that don't know it. So I think many of us would have to be included in that category at some point in our lives. The list of autoimmune and autoimmune-related diseases is in the hundreds and keeps increasing. And this is what's so funny about this seemingly unique disease name, autoimmune, because if any body part suffers from this problem, it gets a name. So if the brain suffers from a problem, it gets a name. If the stomach suffers, it gets a name. If the toenail suffers, it gets a name. And let me tell you, I can't even say some of these names, which is part of the programming. Let's just make it sound as crazy and as convoluted as possible so you feel stupid.
And they feel important.
And exactly. And the chasm is built between who knows what, which is ridiculous. Nobody knows your body better than you. And if anybody tries to make you feel that way, you go to somebody else. So that's my public service announcement. So some of the more common names out there are lupus, Graves, Hashimoto's, rheumatoid arthritis, multiple sclerosis, vitiligo, pernicious anemia, Sjogren's disorder, Addison's, which is interesting, Sananda, I know you're listening, and St. Germain and all our masters who have had wonderful past lives with us. That was suffered by JFK. Kennedy had Addison's, but he kept it so secret, nobody knew. So that's funny how that's been made very popular now. Chronic fatigue.
Do you want to describe what that is?
Addison's is a issue with the adrenal glands, which are two small little walnut-sized organs that sit right above the kidneys. And Addison's is an extreme version of adrenal exhaustion. So it feels like chronic fatigue syndrome. You just feel exhausted all the time, the sallow complexion, and your eyesight starts to change and just very tired. So he had to develop quite a crew in the White House to hide this disorder from the world, or his presidency would have been in jeopardy. So it's interesting how all of us, top to bottom, this is a commonly occurring thing for people when we understand why. Lyme disease
and of course,
has an autoimmune. Yeah, go ahead.
Adrenaline. The adrenal glands produce adrenaline, which is the fight or flight anxiety response. Is it any surprise that the president would have difficulty with extra adrenaline and the exhaustion that brings? Producing.
Exactly.
Yeah.
And I think Sananda's mentioned that a few times before. Please help people understand the connection between the fight or flight mechanism, their anxiety, the depression, and what goes on with their nervous system when the thinking, which I know you'll talk about some more. Meniere's disease, which is in the balance system. Myasthenia gravis, narcolepsy, Raynaud's disease, restless leg syndrome. The list literally could go forever. And now if you're listening and you didn't hear your particular disease or condition that you're suffering from that I didn't mention, don't worry, because everything we share today applies to every disease that you've been given by your doctor. So it all is one story, and it all applies, just like Kathryn said at the beginning. All diseases. This feels like, when I was doing some work on this, as one of the ultimate types of nutrition examples of diseases and how we recover and prevent them from coming. So I appreciated this assignment very much. And the more I worked on fine-tuning my awareness of it, now when I overlay my new spiritual awareness because of Kathryn's work and your messages and our galactic friends who are bringing these messages through our channels, I have a whole different understanding of this information. It's heart-centered understanding now, as opposed to just my brain. And it was, which I'll talk about a little bit more, but I found it very powerful how all of the information we've ever accumulated in our lives, when we overlay the spiritual understanding about who we are, what we're doing, what this new mission is, with the information, not casting it aside, but with it, we are 100 times more powerful to be able to make and impact changes in the world. And so, with that said, I was just thrilled at the aha moments that came with this. So eventually, if we continued on this path of naming disorder after disorder, we'd have 1 million diseases, literally, because as the body gets more and more toxic and more malnourished, which is the root of all disease, there's 1,000 symptom combinations that we could do for any individual that would get a new complicated name. So stick with it long enough, and we're all going to have some name. And let's just choose to bypass that. Yes.
Well, I'm going to add to here that was a good entree for me to talk about the DSM-4, 5 now I think, which is the Diagnostic and Statistics Manual that describes all mental illness, which is getting thicker and thicker and thicker and thicker. And they have to keep rewriting it, and now it's about 4 inches. Because they just keep describing the same symptoms in different combinations. How many different ways are there to be crazy? You know? You're upset with life, and it makes you feel bad. We don't need all these anxiety disorder, bipolar disorder, depression described in 10,000 different ways so that they can come up with 10,000 different pills. That's really the only reason for all these Latin names for things. So it's the same. It's the same in the mental health, which, you know, it hasn't been about mental health for a couple of centuries. It's all been about mental illness. The way allopathic medicine, it's no accident because the psychiatrists who write the manual are MDs. They're not psychologists mostly, although they've co-opted a few psychologists to come in with them. But mostly they were written by medical people. So they're trying to give a medical name to everything. You stub your toe and you go to the doctor and he gives it a Latin name, that ends with itis. You stubbed your toe. It's the same with emotional issues. So it's interesting you brought up the Addison's disease, because that's a very direct example of too much adrenaline, too many worries, too much fear that then touches off a whole cascade, which is what you describe when you describe the illness patterns. So I'm just adding this piece that any illness you describe should really relate first to how is your anxiety creating this? Or how are your environmental circumstances aggravating this? And how are your responses to life and the way you think about yourself creating this illness? So, that's the background question we're going to keep in mind as you talk about the autoimmune diseases. Okay?
And very interesting how this continues to weave together. In the root of Chinese medicine is there can be no physical symptom present without an influence of one of the 7 emotions. That's their theory. So they even say that emotions come first, not feelings, but emotions, which are the perverted, the perverted feeling, added anxiety and added thinking. And then once that emotion is felt long enough on our different energy fields, it works its way down into the dense physical plane. And now we have a symptom. So you can see how there's no separation. It's just a thought sunk long enough is a symptom. So what Kathryn's work, all of our work, is to think healthy thoughts. And then it impacts the physical symptoms at that level. So there's no separation. It's just the amount of imagined time with which we engage in this thinking pattern. So very, very connected. Just one manifests on one plane and one manifests on another. So if you can feel into when you're feeling off and seek the corrective thinking or the corrective behavior, then we won't feel it in the physical plane. The physical plane is just here to give us a bigger signal. The first signal is I'm sad, I'm unhappy, I'm angry, I'm upset, I'm anxious, I'm depressed. That's the first signal. Mm-hmm. But if we feel that long enough, then we need a bigger mallet to wake us up. So if you don't pay attention to the anger, well, then I'm going to show you abdominal pain. Are you listening now? No? Mm-hmm. Oh, okay, you go get a pill. You're not listening yet. Now I'm going to give you IBS. Are you listening now?
Intestinal IBS.
Intestinal bowel syndrome.
Right.
Oh, no, you went and had
irritable bowel.
Yeah, irritable bowel syndrome. Oh, you went to have surgery. You cut out your bowel. Now you have a colostomy bag. We need a bigger mallet. So you can see that until we pay attention to the original thing that was anger and solve the thinking issue, which is who needs light, and Kathryn's messages and our intuition and Ananda's work and all of that to get us into the awareness, mindfulness of every minute, of every day, choosing powerful, high vibrational thoughts. The body's just another signaling mechanism. So at the root of all of my awareness is I'm feeling this, what do you need me to do? What is at the root of this? Not to stop the signaling, which is
right,
or
suppress the feeling.
Right, or suppress the feeling with other activities or ignoring it. Yes.
Take some medication, have a drink, distract yourself, go out and work harder. We are systematically taught to ignore the signals.
Yes, exactly. And so my work in all people who work on nutrition and health, and every person that works with mental health and the emotional world are really working on the same thing. They just don't know it. Some of them do. Mm-hmm. So in the immune system, which is the awareness I have to thank Sananda. I know he was just dropping this information in. With group consciousness, is the immune system is the ultimate group consciousness of our cellular health. The immune system works with bone marrow, stem cells, the thymus, the spleen, the small intestine, the lymph nodes, the skin, white blood cells, tonsils, appendix. All of them are our immune organs. Every one has to connect and communicate to each other to get a clear and clean and true, here's your true sight, seeing clearly. Cells have to have group consciousness clearly to be able to run our immune system. Because at the base of our immune system, there are, on the outside of every cell, proteins that are programmed by God, I'm sure, Creator, to recognize self from not self. That's their job.
Right.
So here we are on every cell, we have cells choosing light and dark. Are you light or are you dark? And if you're light, then we're going to leave you alone. If you're dark, we're going to go into action, call the group consciousness of the entire immune system, and we're going to mount an offense to destroy you or neutralize you from harming the large body, called Kathryn or Meg or all you listening. So here we have a very complicated detection system of self, not self. And to be able to destroy or neutralize the invaders, bacteria, virus, fungi, parasite, toxin, anything, the cells have to be able to first recognize them as your friend and you are not friend. And they're equipped to do that if we feed them the nutrients to make that decision, and we don't feed ourselves toxins that prevent them from being able to make that clear-sighted choice. So it sounds...
that is just beautiful. Beautiful the way you put that together.
But Sananda was right here saying, oh gosh, it just sounds so similar to all of the masters teaching us. Look at the dark. Look at the dark. Feel it. Do you see it? This is how it looks. And then choose. So they're asking us to be able to recognize light and dark, love and fear. So our cells 24/7 are doing that for us, attempting to do that. 24/7 your immune system is running, asleep, awake, the whole thing. Mm-hmm. Are you self? Are you not self? And so when I saw it at that level, like that's what we're doing. That's what we're being asked to do all the time, is recognize and be able to judge the difference, just like our cells are doing. So if our cells are doing that every second, what is the connection between our cells that are toxic and our ability to choose light and dark? If our cells can't choose light and dark, or self from not self tissue, what the basis of autoimmune disorders are, then how effective can we be in you're good for me or you're not? And and
the other way around.
Oh,
how did our cells get so confused? And confused.
Yes, both ways. So the thinking and then the cellular response and feeds that thinking back and forth all the time informing. You know, and so it's one system. It's one system. And so our cells are choosing light and dark. So as our cells choose light, we have a strong immune system, a clear response to a foreign invasion. Mm-hmm. And if we, at the root, are feeding ourselves toxins and pesticides and chemicals and meat and red dye number 9 and all the things in processed food and meat that are pumped full of chemicals and toxins, then our cells are unable to recognize a thyroid cell that is a thyroid cell that we need in order to work from the thyroid cell that is filled with fake hormones. So it can't tell, are you a friend or foe? You have some friend and you have some foe. Well, I am confused. All I can know is to help you, and I think helping you is to neutralize the cell because it has so much poison in it. It has more poison than healthy. So it starts neutralizing our cells that we need for our organs and our systems. So when our cells start attacking our own tissue, which is what autoimmune disorders are technically defined as, is our immune system attacking ourselves, it's not really attacking ourselves. It's just confused because cells are so full of foreign invaders and poisons that can harm us. So again, our immune system is doing its best on being able to help us, but it can only work as much as we arm it. So it's doing the best it can. So the autoimmune disorder is another survival mechanism of the body in response to what it's being presented with. So when the body gives us a signal that something's not right, which could be fatigue, joint pain, muscle pain, sensitivity, skin issues, rashes, weight loss, weight gain, insomnia, rapid heart rate, slow heart rate, trouble focusing, concentrating, abdominal pain, colon problems, numbness and tingling. All these things are signals, the body going, whoa, wait a minute, I'm having trouble recognizing friends from foe. Please help me. And
right.
What we need to do is listen. What do you need me to do? The first place, of course, that I was taught to go is my nutrition by mentors who came before me. Clean up your diet and then see what the body signals are. Clean up the toxins, do a cleanse, change my shampoo, my conditioner, my laundry detergent, my dish soap. Okay, now check. And then see what signals your body gives you then, and continue the question and answer process until you get to the root of what your body is trying to communicate with you. And then the autoimmune, where the cells attacking yourself won't be an issue anymore because the cell is now clearly reading, I'm a thyroid cell, I'm a friend, I'm an adrenal cell, I'm a friend, I'm a brain cell, I'm a friend, I'm a muscle cell, I'm a friend. So the immune system goes, oh, I know you, you're love, you're light, I gotcha, I'll leave you alone. And it goes after cancer cells.
Right.
It goes after fungus and viruses and parasites. And
so now I'm going to make the link about our immune system being thrown off by self-hatred. And if you think about it, an autoimmune disease is an immunity problem in our psychological system. So once you have absorbed the ideas of being worthless or unworthy, not lovable, not good enough, which I want to add here, anyone who has had an autoimmune disease is very familiar with those feelings, because that's really the psychological root of an autoimmune disease. It's, I hate myself. So this is the feeling equivalent of, I don't recognize you as a friend, so I'm going to attack you. It's an exact parallel in our thinking that then is activated and enacted between and amongst ourselves. So we have somebody talking, don't know what it might be. Sometimes we have here we go. There's a mute. Sometimes we get a crossed line for a moment here. So if you see the analogy, it's really more than an analogy. It's an internal expression. I don't feel good about myself. I don't recognize myself as light. I don't recognize myself as the one I want to protect, the one I want to increase, to elevate, to accept and love. Therefore, I'm going to attack. And it's the same thing you described with a cell that's overloaded with toxins. Our body can't recognize it as friend. And so our body will attack. So when you're in the mindset that you don't see yourself as the one you love, then it's not a surprise that you would get an autoimmune disease. It's almost predictable. Why wouldn't you get an autoimmune disease? Because our bodies, as we've been taught, the law of attraction, our bodies will express what we command and what we think about. So if what we think about is, I'm no good, let's use the same language, I'm toxic, because that's the way a lot of people feel. Stay away from me, I won't be good for you. Or I'm not lovable, or nobody's going to love me because I'm messed up or I'm bad or any of those millions of versions of self-hatred, then, of course, your cells, which are an expression, which express the feelings about yourself, are going to attack each other. So it's not just a case of being psychosomatic. It's a case of no difference. There is no difference between our immune system, the immune system in our bodies, and the immune system in our minds. Both are expressed in a physical way. So, does that all make sense now? I hope so. I hope we've wrapped it, in this bright red ribbon that is, we are one. The group consciousness in our cells is the same as the group consciousness in our minds and in our hearts and in our experience of life, who we are and what we're here for. And if you see yourself as the light that you really are, and that you are literally God's gift to the world, and that's not about ego, has nothing to do with ego. It's simply, we're here to bring our gifts, to offer who we are, to create something wonderful together. That's a healthy immune system. So what we're looking for with elevating our group consciousness is to build a powerful immune system for Mother Earth and all the beings, all the conscious beings that are here. So it's the macro, micro, and total picture, cosmic. It's all the same. When you see yourself as love and light, there is no disease that can proliferate in your body. Your body will address it. If you're confused about whether you love yourself or not enough to be well, to be strong and clear and clean, then of course you will suffer from diseases. And it doesn't make it any easier that we're surrounded by toxins. So we have to really work hard to eliminate those toxins. So on that note, I hand it back to Meg.
Oh, Kathryn, I just love this message. So many levels. I mean, what I saw was cancer as the dark thought.
Mm-hmm.
And people played the roles, right? They said, oh, I'll do that dark person. I'll be the cancer, whatever that is, that people use their incarnations and how people volunteer for dark roles and people who just get caught up and run away. I'll be the cancer. I'll be the non-self. I'll be the dark thought forms. I'll be the
heart disease.
Yes. On the planet. So the planet is us, right? Our giant, beautiful Terra is us in the macrocosm. And within Terra, you have all of these levels of immunity. All of these expressions countrywide, in the oceans, on the lands, the valleys, mountains, all of us expressing different levels of recognition of self and not self, light and love, fear and light and love. And now we've turned the corner. Oh, no. I know that trick. I know how you want me to think ill of the people in the Middle East, so I will roll over and support violent military action.
Mm-hmm.
I know you, and you're not me. I don't care what country I live in. I do not condone this. And as we grow in our own levels of inner immunity, we form groups that act as self-protection for the light on the macrocosm. And we can see clearly light and dark in our governments, in our groups, in our institutions, in the medical field, in all the areas that we come into contact, even in the news and in anything we read.
Mm-hmm.
Our inner detection is on. And we're like, nope, I know that. That's dark. I'm not playing with it. That's light. I'm joining it. And we don't even have to ask a question to anyone else. We just know. That's just what you said, this inner immunity. And now the light has won. It's sweeping over the planet. Everybody is raising up in this one group consciousness, fully focused on what we want to experience. It's like we've taken back the cancer and we are pushing it back. And it's on its last throes before it is done. That's just the picture you showed me. It's beautiful. Mm-hmm. And how we experience that on the microcosm and macrocosm. And so now Earth is healed. We're pure light and love on this planet. Who's next? Are we going to be found a new planet? Are we going to the rest of the solar system? I mean, really, it's beautiful. And how levels and levels and galaxies and galaxies. And they've told us we will be the teachers. We will be the teachers to spread the understanding of what we have done to conquer darkness within our world. And our cells are doing that for us every minute. I want to conquer darkness. Feed me these good foods. Don't feed me toxins, and I will monitor you at every level, and I will protect you. And we're doing the same things on the outer realm. And now our governments will reflect a strong immunity. Our religions, our social institutions, our healthcare system will all represent a healthy, light-driven, love-driven immune system. And then Tara is clean. We rebuild her in perfection. It's absolutely beautiful.
That was great.
Yes. It was beautiful. It's just, I have chills. And as vigilant as we can be on our internal environment. And, I have to say that I'm far from perfect for every piece of food that passes my mouth. I'm better, I'm stronger, but I can still go further. And this talk and doing this work on researching even deeper has made me see the symbolism of every moment of every day. Every thought is just what the cell is trying to do, monitoring every single second. Monitoring every single second. Every morsel that passes your mouth, everything you drink down, every thought you think. And
exactly.
This is the beautiful immune system. Yes.
And
thank you, Kathryn. That was lovely.
Oh, yeah. Thank you. And this is what Prime Creator meant by being in complete command of your thoughts, your feelings, and your actions. And when you do that, you establish a perfect immune system for yourself, physically and psychologically.
Mm-hmm. Mm.